Hello and welcome to the Bhagavatam. Today we're on the 8th canto, and I'm going to address a topic that is very relevant to all of us: happiness. What if I told you that there were 3 steps to happiness? 3 steps. 3 simple steps. Would you be attracted to that idea? Everybody wants a simple way to get to the ultimate desire. In fact, behind everything that we desire is one thing, and that is happiness. But the question really is how to be happy. Many people think that by accumulating great wealth, they can be happy. Have you ever met someone who has great wealth and is happy? Can wealth lead to happiness? Through all the research around the world, it has been found that beyond a basic maintenance income, more money has not made anyone happier. You can buy more things. You can go more places. You can do things you could not do before. But you can't buy happiness, or for that matter, love, or peace, or freedom. And nor can you live forever, no matter how much money you have. And yet, we just want these things. We want these feelings. We want them. And we don't just want them, we want them forever, all the time, like nonstop, daily, everything. We know it's not realistic. We've convinced ourselves that that's not possible. We want to get it as much of the time. But what if I told you that is possible? And what if I told you that you could have it all the time? And what if I told you you could have it forever? What's the real reason that we want these things and our desire is never fulfilled? We will have to answer that question. Could there be a hidden reason? Is it possible that that which we seek cannot be found in matter or in the world? If so, then where can it be found? The sages of ancient times, and even in present days, will tell us that what we seek lies within us. We are spiritual beings, and no amount of matter can fulfill us, ever. Just as a fish out of water cannot be satisfied with a grand mansion, a large TV, or a fast car, we too can never be satisfied by such things. A fish belongs in water, and we belong to a different vibration, a spiritual energy that is in fact all around us, and yet we do not see it or understand it. We are like a fish swimming in water that doesn't know what is water. It's looking for water everywhere. We are swimming in an ocean of spiritual energy. It is within us. It is all around us. It is what we are made of. It is who we are. And yet, to our senses and our mind, it is concealed. It will always remain concealed until we seek it. When we seek, we shall find. So if you're a seeker, you've come to the right place. Join us as we explore the world of spirit, the realm of the divine, and the wisdom of the sages. So up till now, we've been talking about the Bhagavatam, and we're on the portion where the Devas and the Asuras. So let me introduce those terms to you in case you're new. Devas refers to the demigods, and through the demigods we mean those highly evolved beings that live on various other planets, and not quite necessarily here. And the Asuras refers to demonic beings. Now, this does not mean some person with horns or some sort of crazy Hollywood version. It means people who are atheistic, who reject God, who are not interested in spirituality. They all belong to the category of asuras, non-divine beings, which in English they'll translate as demonic, and that's not actually accurate. But yes, it is possible that when a person is godly, it is possible that they will do deeds that are beneficial to the world, and it is possible that when a person is not ungodly, doesn't care about the divine or source or God, that they are likely to do things that are harmful to others because they're interested only in themselves now. Self-interest, which has become a big preoccupation on our Instagram channels and all over the world, it's like self-love. And, no, there's a lot to self-love for sure. I'm not denying it. But the way we've taken it is we've taken it into self-aggrandizement to make ourselves the center of the universe. And that egotistical disease has spread all around us. Anyways, I'm not going to go much deeper into that, but devas and asuras, demigods and demons, if you want to use those terms, I'm going to stick to devas and asuras as much as possible. Now, they were in this hunt for eternal life. Most religious people, they promise that, right? Eternal life. Join my thing, follow my system, and you will have eternal life. There is a longing for eternal life, as I was saying earlier. And yes, the devas and asuras had been told that if they did this certain process, which was the churning of the ocean of milk, which is known as Shvetadvip, if they churned that, then they would be able to, what would arise from it would be a nectar of immortality. Now, just bear with the story because there's a lot to be learned here, and I'd rather be focused on the learning than on the, is this true or is this not? Because the fact of the matter is they're talking about different dimensions, different realms, different planets, different kinds of consciousness, and we have no way to verify one way or the other, any more than the scientist has a way to verify whether the Big Bang happened or not. Yeah, there's a lot of theories in science that cannot be verified. There's a lot of things in spirituality that cannot be verified. So we're just going to go with what is here and try and learn the lessons that we can. All right, so out of that ocean, that Shvetadvip, came Dhanvantari. And Dhanvantari came carrying the pot of nectar. Now, everybody wanted this pot of nectar, and you know how it is when everybody wants the same thing. It starts to become a quarrel. So at that point, we had the intervention of Vishnu, who came in as Mohini, beautiful, incredibly beautiful, so incredibly beautiful that everyone just forgot about what they wanted and in their lusty desires began to crave her. Mohini then stole the ocean, the pot of nectar, and gave it to the devas, the demigods, the saintly beings. And of course, the asuras became very unhappy and unsatisfied. There was a great war that followed after that, in which many of them were killed. I'm going to resume that in the narrative as we're going ahead. But there's a question that came up, and I want to address that. That question came up because after that war took place, Shiva, the great ascetic, the great deva, the Mahadeva, the greatest of all beings, Shiva, went to Vishnu, the supreme Godhead, and said, I want to see that form of yours as Mohini, that so attractive form that you came in. I heard all about it, and I just want to see it. So when Vishnu revealed that form to him, Shiva went absolutely berserk. He went, this is a scene from there where Shiva has become so lusty, so desirous of Mohini, so infatuated, so swept away that he chased her across the universe, chased Vishnu, who has now appeared as Mohini. And in that lust, in that desire, it went really far. Shiva began to try to hold her, and she slipped away again. And then as he was chasing her, he discharged semen, which apparently then turned into gold mines along the way. Yeah, and what we want to get at is, this incredible searching. Why? So someone questioned, why? Why did this have to happen? How could it even happen? And okay, let's unpack it. The question was this. And this was asked last week after our program, so I had to address it now. How could Mahadev, the expansion of Vishnu, the most dear and celebrated being in the universe, be filled with lust when he saw Mohini? See, lust is something that highly evolved beings purify and remove from within themselves. They become free from anger and greed and lust. And that includes desire. So how is it that Shiva, who was free of lust, free of desire, free of greed, free of anger, when he saw Mohini, the sensual feminine incarnation of Vishnu, how could he, who is so self-controlled, lose control of himself? This was the question. That was a brilliant question. And then how could he leave his dear beloved wife Parvati to chase another woman? Is this not against religion and dharma? So the answer to this is so interesting. What makes lust bad, what makes greed bad, what makes all of these things bad is not because they're bad. They are natural. But what makes them bad is because when you translate it into matter, into material objects, then it becomes driven by the ego. And when it is driven by the ego, I want for me. Me becomes central. Me becomes the operating system. It is that I want this being, I want this, let's say if I'm a man, then I want this woman, or I mean, whatever, it can be a man to man, woman to woman, whatever. I'm not getting in there. But I want this for me, for my pleasure, for my enjoyment. There is a certain selfishness. There is a certain, how would you say, wanting to satisfy one's own need and desire. And that is what makes it bad. The greed to accumulate for oneself. But that same greed, that same lust, that same desire, if channeled towards the divine, where you begin seeking that divine, where you begin desiring that divine, where you begin lusting for that divine even, it is suddenly transformed. You say, why? How? How is that possible? Well, the experience you will have is that it will uplift you rather than degrade you. It will cause you to experience ecstasy and joy, the same as you would experience in meditation, because this is indeed meditation. Anger is meditation. Lust is meditation. Desire is meditation. Okay? It's a focus on what you want. And when you want the divine, and that becomes your meditation, then the divine enters into you. God enters within you and fills your heart and fills your desire. And the fact of the matter is, for the first time, you begin to feel fulfilled. Lust never fulfilled you in this world. Greed never fulfilled you in this world, no matter how much you got, no matter how much you had. But when you are filled with that divine presence, with God within you, then you experience a contentment, a joy, the likes of which you've never experienced before. So the very same thing. It's just a question of where you're applying it. The correct application of it produces immense satisfaction. And the incorrect application of it produces constant dissatisfaction. You're always wanting more and more and more. You're never satisfied. You're never content. Right? If you've got one person, you want another. If you've got one thing, you want more. If you've got one house, you want another. If you've got $1 million, you want another million. It never stops. I used to always wonder, why is it, rich people keep wanting more and more and more. But, all right, let's get on with our narrative for today. We're continuing with chapter number 13. So in last week's narrative, we learned that King Bali was the leader of the Asuras, the demonic beings. And when the nectar of immortality was given to the Devas by Vishnu, a massive war erupted in which thousands of soldiers from both sides were killed, along with the king himself, King Bali. He was killed. Vishnu, if you're coming for the first time, you're going to hear all these names, right? It might seem puzzling to you, but as you keep following, you'll start understanding the same names keep repeating. Vishnu is the supreme being, the supreme Godhead. So Vishnu then brought all the devas, the demigods who had been killed, back to life, and the guru of the Asuras, Shukracharya, the Asuras meaning the let's say godless beings, Shukracharya, who was a descendant of the great sage Brighu, brought all the Asuras back to life. The ones who hadn't lost their heads or limbs, that is, including King Bali. That was important. You see, Bali, the king, was the grandson of the great devotee of Vishnu, Prahlad, that we talked about him in an earlier episode. Due to Guru Shankaracharya bringing him back to life, Bali became his disciple and served him with faith and offering him everything he had. Bali was very eager to defeat Indra. You see, Indra had killed him. Indra had killed Bali. So you know how it is, revenge. You want revenge, and Bali wanted revenge. So he was eager to defeat Indra, and after performing various ritualistic ceremonies, sacrifices, mantras, by the mercy of his guru, who gained the weapons and abilities to do so. In ancient times, this is how weaponry was gained. This is how powers were gained, through austerity, through tapasya, through various meditations. One was able to then acquire powers, abilities, talents through the blessings of highly evolved beings. So when Bali assembled his own soldiers and chiefs who were equal to him in strength, opulence, and beauty, it appeared as if they would swallow the sky and burn all directions with their vision. They then departed for the opulent capital of Indra. Now we're talking about interplanetary travel. Okay, they were going across to another end of the universe. They were at what is called the lower planetary systems. We are in the middle, and now they were going to the higher planetary systems, the more evolved and the more heavenly planets, as they're called. Again, the concept in the Vedas is not of a heaven, but of many heavenly planets. And in those planets, people have incredible long lives, beautiful bodies, way more beautiful than we have here, and enjoy themselves immensely. Getting there is due to their good karma. And once that karma is used up, they then come back to the earth again. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, whether one goes to the highest planet or the lowest planet, all of them are places of suffering wherein repeated birth and death takes place. So the goal of life is not to go to the heavenly planets, but to get out of the cycle of birth and death. Anyways, now Bali was going to Indra's planet to try and kill him, all right, and take over the kingdom of the entire universe. Because he already had the lower planetary systems, he wanted to get the upper ones too. So as they began to progress towards the higher planetary systems, the universe began to tremble with their power. King Indra's city, which is in the heavenly planets, King Indra was the king of all the heavenly kingdoms. His city was full of pleasing orchards and gardens. Beautiful women sported in those gardens, which had lotus ponds full of varieties of birds. The entire atmosphere was celestial. The cities were surrounded by trenches full of Ganges water, known as Akash Ganga, or the sky Ganga, or the sky Ganges. And they were surrounded by a high wall, which was the color of fire. Upon this wall, there were parapets for fighting. The city had been constructed by Vishwakarma, who was the architect of the Devas, of the demigods. The doors were made of gold, the gates of marble, the roads were wide, the crossroads were made of pearl, and there were sitting places made of diamond and coral. Wow. Just like right out in the open in public. Not steel, not stone, but diamond and pearls. The city had 100 million airplanes. It was filled with constant dancing and singing. Oh, by the way, these airplanes weren't operating on gasoline, okay? They worked on mystical powers by which the residents were able to do interplanetary travel. It was filled with the city was filled with constant dancing and singing. The beauty of Indrapuri defeated beauty personified. King Bali and his soldiers gathered outside and attacked it from all directions. Indra and all the devas could not resist the might of King Bali. Indra's guru, Brihaspati, now Indra is the king of the heavenly planets. His guru, Brihaspati, informed him that just as no one can ultimately defeat death, no one could defeat Bali except the supreme Godhead Vishnu. He then advised that all of them should leave the heavenly planets and go wherever they could not be seen. King Bali had become powerful by the blessings of the Brahmin priests, but later, Brihaspati, the guru of Indra, predicted that he would insult those very Brahmins, and due to arrogance, he too would be defeated along with his friends and assistants. King Indra and the Devas then assumed various forms. So they could change their forms. They could look different, because if they went looking the way they were as Devas, brilliant, effulgent, dressed in all kinds of regal robes and stuff, they'd be spotted immediately. But no, they assumed various forms and scattered all over the universe. Bali now became the ruler of the entire universe, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. His fame and reputation grew, and he shone like a brilliant moon in the sky. He felt very satisfied. He became very opulent and prosperous, and he began to enjoy his unrivaled kingdom. Okay, well, it sounds like the story might have ended there, but no. When Aditi, the mother of the Devas, so there was this original mother of the Devas, Kashyap and Aditi, had together given birth to children, and those children went on to become the Devas. They became highly evolved beings. She also gave birth to some children who went on to become the Asuras. So she was in fact the mother of both the Devas and the Asuras. So Aditi, the mother of the Devas, learned of what had happened, and she became very sad. When her husband Kashyap Muni returned home from his meditations, he asked her what was wrong. Kashyap was a great sage, the original father of both the Devas and the Asuras, the demigods and the demons. So they all came from the same father. And this father is a great sage. He is not the supreme being. Let's be clear. He heard from his wife how the Devas were exiled and in great trouble. Aditi then appealed to him to help her sons regain what they had lost. Kashyap slightly smiled. He's a very detached person. He didn't care about all this stuff. So he says, alas, he said, how powerful is the illusory energy of Vishnu, by which the entire world is bound by affection for children. Aren't we all? We have children, oh, little baby, so sweet. Then we become attached, and we become so attached that we'll do anything for this child. We'll do anything for our loved ones, for that matter. Kashyap then spoke with great wisdom, and he said, the spirit soul is completely different from the material elements from which the body is made. But because of bodily attachment, one is regarded as husband or son. These illusory relationships are caused by misunderstanding. It's really important to understand this. What is he trying to say? Why is this an illusion? Why is this a misunderstanding? Because, in fact, no one belongs to anyone. We may form relationships in the course of this life, and we may think, oh, this is my soulmate, this is my twin flame, this is my this, that, or the other. But these are all stupid ideas that we have, sorry to say. Relationships are, in this world, are temporary. This body is temporary. Everything is temporary. There is nothing here that is forever. So this idea that you're going to live happily ever after, or that this person is your eternal soulmate, that you're going to keep meeting life after life, is a lovely story that has been woven to keep us on a treadmill, to keep us looking, to keep us hunting, to keep us searching, to keep us believing, to keep us hoping. And, it's nice to hope. It's nice to wish, think like that. But we need to be also very clear that nothing in this world is forever. No one is forever. Once we're clear about that, we can continue to love. We can continue to enjoy. We can continue to experience connection with people and not try to make it any more than it is. You don't have to turn it into some mystical thing. If you want a mystical thing, then yes, seek that mystical source of everything, and there you will find a love that is greater than all love in this world. Then you will find that divine love, and there you will find the fulfillment of what you've been looking for. But not here. Don't delude yourself, and don't let people delude you. All right, so Kashyap encouraged his wife to devote herself to Vishnu, or Krishna, the master of the universe. Only he can bestow all auspicious benedictions on everyone. He is very merciful to the poor and will fulfill all your desires. Kashyap then instructed his wife Aditi on the ways of prayer, worship, and meditation known as Payovrat for 12 days, by which she could please the Supreme Godhead. So now Aditi brought her mind and senses under control. See, this is very, very important, bringing our mind and senses under control. We've not been taught how to do that, but that is the exact point of spirituality. If we cannot bring our mind and senses under control, then they control us. And when they control us, we become their slave or their servant. And now we're doing whatever it is our mind and senses are telling us to do. There is no freedom anymore. We are captivated by our mind and senses. We are caught in the illusion that they weave, the stories that they tell, and all the mess that they create within us. So the first thing in spirituality is to bring our mind and senses under control, and that's what Aditi did here. And with undiverted attention, again, a very important point, undiverted attention. So literally learning how to focus your mind. In Sanskrit, the word for meditation is dhyan. Dhyan means focus. What kind of focus? Undiverted attention. Undiverted focus, like really learning to focus. Not that we've got our notifications going on, we've got our cell phone, our calls, our this, or that. There is a time, certainly, for multitasking. But then there is a time for focus. So with undiverted attention, she strictly followed her husband's instructions to perform the ceremony known as Payovrat, at the end of which the Supreme Godhead, the Supreme Being, God, dressed in yellow garments, bearing a conch shell, disc, club, and lotus in his 4 hands, appeared before her. Aditi was so overwhelmed by transcendental bliss that she at once offered her respectful obeisances by prostrating herself. She then stood silently with folded hands, unable to offer prayers because of the transcendental bliss she was feeling from within. Tears filled her eyes, and the hairs on her body stood on end. Seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, she felt ecstasy, and her body trembled. Ask yourself, how would you feel if you would have darshan, if you would see that Supreme Being, the source of everything, the source of the universe, the source of all creation in all its beauty, standing in front of you? How would you feel? What would you experience? She then began to offer prayers in a faltering voice and with great love and devotion. Aditi said, "O Supreme Master of the entire universe, O infallible and most famous person, whose name, when chanted, spreads all good fortune, you are the shelter of all poor, suffering, living entities, and you have appeared to diminish their suffering. Please be kind to us." At that point, Vishnu, the Supreme Being, said, "O Mother of the Devas, I understand what you desire. I am aware that the Asuras have become unconquerable due to the protection of the priests, the Brahmins. I have been satisfied by your worship and will find some means to favor you, for worship of me never goes in vain and certainly gives the desired result according to what one deserves. I shall become your son and protect your other sons. You should not disclose this fact to anyone. That which is confidential is successful if kept secret." Remember these words. That which is confidential is successful if kept secret. A lot of times we have plans, then we tell them to everybody, and then they don't happen, and we feel foolish afterwards. But people who are very successful will keep their plans very close to their heart. They will act on them. They will move in that direction. They will focus very passionately in that to achieve what they want. That's because he says you must keep those plans, those kind of things very confidential if you want them to be successful. Vishnu then disappeared. Aditi went to her husband, Kashyap. He was aware that an expansion of the Supreme Being had entered within him. He was a highly sensitive being, highly evolved being. So he knew, okay, something has happened. That Supreme Being has entered within me. He could feel that presence. And then he transferred his potency into the womb of Aditi. It doesn't say how he did that, whether he did it through some mystical process, whether he did it through normal sex. No mention. So I'll leave it at that. At this point, Brahma, who is the creator of the universe, and in this case, again, in the Vedas, God does not create the universe. It's delegated. Other people handle those kind of matters. So Brahma, who is known to be the creator of the universe, who was aware of what was transpiring, offered wonderful prayers to the all-pervading Lord Vishnu, who was now within the womb of Aditi. At the end of which he said, "Oh my Lord, as a boat is the only hope for a person drowning in the water, you are the only shelter for the devas, for the demigods, who are now bereft of their heavenly kingdom." So think about, how important this is for us as well, that we need to know that there is someone we can call on, that there is someone who's got our back, that there is someone in the universe. See, thinking of an impersonal source, universe is, I don't know, can you relate to something impersonal like that, an energy? What if it was a being? Now people say, oh, it can't be a being. Why can't it be a being? Why can't that which created everything be a being? Oh, it's too big. It can't be. Well, why can't that which is too big become as small as it wants to become? Right? Why can't it become anything it wants to become? Okay. In the Vedas, we're going to see here, There are times where Vishnu is appearing as, in this now case, he's going to come as a dwarf. But in earlier case, he's come as a tortoise. He's come as a fish. He's come as various forms, a boar. And then he'll come as Krishna, the most loving being of all, and as Rama. Okay, so here it is. Vishnu is appearing before Aditi, four-handed in all his glory. Yeah. The Supreme Godhead, who is never subject to death like an ordinary being, then appeared from the womb of Aditi. His four hands were decorated with a conch shell, club, lotus, and disc. He was dressed in yellow garments. His complexion was blackish, and his eyes appeared like the petals of blooming lotus. His effulgence vanquished the darkness in the home of Aditi and Kashyap. At first he appeared in his original form with ornaments and weapons in his hands, although his ever-existing form is not visible in the material world. Then, in the presence of his father and mother, he assumed the form of Vamana. Vaman is a Brahmin dwarf, and he assumed this form just like a theatrical actor. He likes to take on these forms. He likes to take on these different roles. He likes to act in different ways. The day was most auspicious, and the devas, the demigods, showered flowers on the home of Aditi and Kashyap. A birthday ceremony was performed by the sages who lived there. The devas presented him with various gifts. Vamana then exhibited his Brahman effulgence. Brahman effulgence refers to the light. We've heard of the light. We've heard that there is this thing where if one is enlightened and then it becomes free from the cycle of birth and death, one goes into the light. Well, that light comes from the Supreme Being. It is the light of his effulgence. And therefore Vaman showed that effulgence to everyone. Now, King Bali, on the other hand, was performing great Ashwamedha sacrifices under the patronage of the Brahmins. He was now ruler of the world. Vaman, the young Brahmin boy, entered the arena, holding in his hands a rod, so he was like a staff, an umbrella, and a water pot. He appeared to be a Brahmin boy. Brahmins are priests, in case you don't know. He was wearing a belt of straw, had a sacred thread, which is worn by the Brahmins, an upper garment of deerskin, and matted locks of hair. The brilliant radiance of his effulgence and the beauty of his body dazzled everyone present. King Bali offered the dwarf boy a seat and received him with great respect and honor by washing his feet. This is what they would do to a highly evolved or a holy person who came. The king is washing his feet and placing that water on his head. He then welcomed Vaman and asked what he could do for him. So this was the way of receiving a very saintly or very highly evolved being. From his effulgence, they could tell. Bali said, "O my Lord, because you have kindly arrived at our home, all our forefathers are satisfied. Our family and entire dynasty have been sanctified, and the sacrifice we are performing is now complete because of your presence. O son of a Brahmin, today the fire of sacrifice is ablaze." So they were performing these ceremonies, right? Fire, sacrificial fire. If you've ever seen that in Indian ceremonies, they have that a lot, even in weddings and stuff like that. He says, "I have been freed from all sinful reactions, from all karma of my life by the water that was washed by your lotus feet." So this is the belief that when a person who is highly evolved and you wash their feet and you place that on your head, that water purifies you. By the touch of your small lotus feet, the entire surface of this world has been sanctified. It appears that you have come here to ask me for something. Therefore, whatever you want, you may take from me. A cow, gold, a furnished house, a palatable food and drink, the daughter of a Brahmin for your wife, prosperous villages, horses, elephants, chariots, whatever you desire, you can have it. The young boy, dwarf boy, Vaman, was very pleased with King Bali. Now keep in mind, he is Vishnu, who's come in this disguise. Vishnu is the supreme being. Vaman was very pleased with King Bali. He praised the king and his ancestors. He said, I know that even until now, no one taking birth in your family has been poor-minded or miserly. No one has refused to give charity to Brahmins. Not after promising to give charity has anyone failed to fulfill his promise. So in other words, he really reinforced that point. He then told Bali how he'd been there when his ancestors Hiranyaksha and Vishnu had fought. He told him a lot about that instance and that story. King Bali then said to him, your instructions are as good as those of learned and elderly persons. Wait, let me go back one step. He says, O king of the Asuras, your majesty, who come from such a noble family and who are able to give charity munificently, I ask for only 3 paces of land to the measurement of my steps. In other words, what he's saying is, you're offering me whatever I want, right? All I want from you is 3 steps of land. That's it. That's all I want. So he says, O king, controller of the entire universe, although you are very munificent, very generous, and although you are able to give me as much land as I want, I do not want anything from you that is unnecessary. If a learned person takes charity from others only according to his needs, he does not become entangled in karmic activities. What he's trying to tell here is that if one cannot be happy with even that 3 steps of land, what is 3 steps of land? Typically, if we took 3 steps, it would just be enough for us to lie down on, right? Just enough. He says, if you're not satisfied with that much of space, that much of property or possession, then you will not be satisfied if you gain the entire world. That's the point he's making to Bali. So let's see how he words it. The king says, your instructions are as good as those of a learned and elderly person. Nevertheless, you're a boy, and your intelligence is insufficient. Thus, you are not very prudent in regard of your self-interest. I am able to give you an entire island because I am the proprietor of the universe. You have come to take something from me and have pleased me by your sweet words. But you are asking for only 3 paces of land? Therefore, you are not very intelligent. You may ask from me as much land as will suffice to maintain you according to your needs. Vaman says, my dear king, even the entirety of whatever there may be within the universe cannot satisfy a person whose senses are uncontrolled. There is so much we can learn from this, by the way. So much. He says, if I were not satisfied with 3 paces of land, then surely I would not be satisfied even with possessing one of the 7 islands. Now, somehow they knew that there were 7 continents on this planet. He says, even if I had an entire continent, how did they know they had 7? There were 7 continents. I mean, this is supposed to be thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, and yet they knew. We'll leave that to our own speculation. But he says, even if I had an entire continent, a person who has not controlled their senses would not be satisfied. If I possessed one continent, I would hope to get others. One should be satisfied with whatever he achieves by his previous destiny, for discontent can never bring happiness. A person who is not self-controlled will not be happy, even if they possess the entire universe. Please hear this. Our world teaches us the opposite. Our forefathers, our constitution, our motivational speakers, all people around us seem to be giving us the opposite message. That if you have more, you will be more happy, you will be more fulfilled. And yet these great wise people are saying something entirely different. He's saying here, the Supreme Being is saying here, a person who is not self-controlled, means who is not in control of their mind and senses, will not be happy even if they possess the entire universe. Think about that. Material existence causes discontent in regard to fulfilling one's desires and achieving more and more money. This is the cause for the continuation of material life, which is full of repeated birth and death. But one who is satisfied by what is obtained by destiny is fit for liberation from this material existence. By the way, if you have any questions that are coming up in your mind as I'm reading this or I'm discussing this or bringing up my side of my opinions, Please write down your questions. I'd love to answer them after I'm done with the reading for today. Yeah, your questions are absolutely welcome, and all questions are welcome. Really, it doesn't matter. If you're not familiar, you can ask a question about anything. All right? Therefore, O king, from you, the best of those who give charity, I ask only 3 paces of land, but such a gift I shall be very pleased. For the way of happiness is to be fully satisfied, to receive that which is absolutely needed. Bali said, all right. He smiled and he said, all right, take whatever you like. King Bali's guru, however, understood what was going on and tried to stop him. He understood that the dwarf boy was the supreme Godhead Vishnu and was there to fulfill the interests of the Devas. Shukracharya, the guru, said, this person falsely appearing as a brahmachari or as a young boy is actually the supreme Godhead Hari, who has come in this form to take away all your land, wealth, beauty, power, fame, and education. After taking everything from you, he will deliver it to Indra, your enemy. He will occupy the entire universe with 1 step. Then in his 2nd step, he will occupy everything in outer space. And then he will expand his universal body to occupy everything. How will you offer him the 3rd step? You will certainly be unable to fulfill your promise. And I think that because of this inability, your eternal residence will be in hell. A promise, if truthful, is preceded by the word Om. So he's giving him a way out now. He says, a promise, if truthful, if you really mean it, you'll say Om first. And if you don't, then it's not really the truth. The safe course is to say no. Because no Om was said. So you can say no. Although it is a falsehood, although you said you'll give him whatever he wants, and it is a bit of a falsehood, it will protect you. Saying no will protect you. It will draw the compassion of others towards yourself because they'll understand your situation, right? In protecting oneself from an enemy's hand, falsity is never condemned. So this is the way of thinking of the asura, the ungodly. It's all about self-preservation, trying to kind of finagle the truth around, trying to not live by any values. The values are, I live by my word. I have said I will do something. I will do that. That's values. But other people want to be like snakes, want to finagle out of things, just kind of like twist the truth, twist it around here and there. And that's what Shukracharya was doing. King Bali remained silent and contemplated the words of his guru. He then said, I am the grandson of Prahlad. Prahlad was a great devotee of Vishnu, a great soul. How can I withdraw my promise because of this greed for money, which I have already said I shall give this land? How can I behave like an ordinary cheater, especially towards a Brahmin, a priest, a highly evolved being? There is nothing more sinful than untruthfulness. Because of this, Mother Earth once said, I can bear any heavy thing except a person who is a liar. Think about it, how common it has become to cheat, to lie, to not keep one's word. Think about how much it has affected our lives, how much it has hurt our hearts, how much it has broken our trust in each other. And here, look at the example of people who live by their word and who are honest, even though they're being told by their guru, by their teachers, to lie. Still, no. Bali says, I do not fear hell, poverty, an ocean of distress, fall down from my position, or even death itself as much as I fear cheating a Brahmin. In any case, all the material opulences of this world are certainly separated from their possessor at death. Great saintly persons worship Vishnu by performing various ceremonies. If that same Vishnu has come here to give me all benedictions or punish me as an enemy, I must carry out his order and give him the requested tract of land without hesitation. The Guru Shukracharya was angry. Oh, he just was not having it. He cursed King Bali for disobeying him. Because of your disobeying me, you shall very soon be bereft of all your opulence. Bali was undaunted and he offered Vaman the gift he had asked for. Vaman then began increasing in size until everything in the universe was within his body, including the earth, the planetary systems, the sky, the oceans, the birds, the beasts, the human beings, and the demigods. Let me kind of show you the picture here. Might help you understand. So now he expanded his body, made it gigantic, such that one step he covered the entire universe. One step. Pretty wild, right? Right. When the Asuras, the demonic being saw the universal form, because this was his universal form. It was a form that covered the entire universe. It was a similar form that Krishna showed to Arjun in the Battle of Kurukshetra in the Bhagavad Gita. If you haven't read it, please do. I've done a whole playlist on the Bhagavad Gita. You'll find that universal form being talked about in chapter 10. So when the Asuras saw the universal form of the Supreme Godhead, who held everything within his body, like you could see the entire universe within his body, they experienced great lamentation within their hearts. As Vaman took his second step, he covered the heavenly planets and outer space, and not even a spot remained for the third step. So what happens next? Well, the demonic followers of King Bali saw that their master, who had been determined in performing sacrifice, had lost all his possessions, so they went out to attack Vaman. And the associates of Vishnu stopped them from proceeding, and Bali, their king, forbade his soldiers to continue fighting. He says, unless providence is in our favor, we shall not be able to gain victory. Therefore, we must wait for that favorable time when our defeating them will be possible. He says, this is not the right time. Things are not in our favor right now. When King Bali was arrested by Vishnu, so now Vishnu from Vaman came back, arrested him, tied him up. When King Bali was arrested by Vishnu, who is the most powerful, there was a great roar of lamentation in all directions throughout the universe. Vaman then said, Vaman is Vishnu, O king of the demons, you have promised to give me 3 steps of land, but I have occupied the entire universe with 2 steps. Now think about where I should put my third. Being falsely proud of your possessions, you promised to give me land, but you could not fulfill your promise. Therefore, because your promise was false, you must live for a few years in hellish life. So what hellish life refers to in the Vedas is planets where there is greater suffering, and what heavenly life refers to is planets where there is greater pleasure. Okay? It's not that you're going to burn in hell forever or something. There are places on our own planet where there is more hellish life. People who live in desert-like conditions, or people who live in places where there is great poverty. So there is hellish life there. And others live in very comfortable, gated homes with beautiful mansions and all kinds of wealth, and they live a heavenly life. But none of that is permanent. None of that is lasting. None of that is forever. King Bali was fixed in his determination. He said, O personality of Godhead, most worshipable of all the demigods, O Vishnu, if you think that my promise has been false, I shall certainly rectify matters to make it truthful. I cannot allow my promise to be false. Please, therefore, place your third footstep on my head. I do not fear being deprived of all my possessions, living in hellish life, being arrested for poverty, or being punished by you, as much as I fear defamation. What is this defamation? Not keeping one's word. There is so much importance and power in that. One who is true to their word, like King Yudhishthir was true to his word, such a person gains great power, because that which he says then happens. Even if it seems impossible, it happens because they are true to their word. Great power is gained by such people. Because you are the most worshipable Lord, I regard the punishment you have given me as most exalted. Because demons like us always aspire for a position of false prestige, by chasing us, or rather chastising us, you gave us the eyes by which to see the right path. So like this he goes on, and here's a lovely picture of that. Of Vaman placing his foot on the head of Bali. At that moment, Prahlad, who was the ancestor of Bali, appeared. Now, he had certainly passed away many, many centuries ago, but he appeared there like the moon rising in the night time. His dark body resembled black ointment for the eyes. His tall, elegant figure was dressed in yellow garments. He had long arms, and his beautiful eyes were like the petals of a lotus. See, Prahlad was an incredible devotee of Vishnu. If you haven't heard that episode, it's there in the 7th canto. You'll find it on my YouTube channel. If you haven't yet been there, please do go. Please subscribe. I have the entire Bhagavatam. It's almost like 40 or 50 episodes. It's there right from the beginning. So do check it out. You go to Spiritual Actualization or my name, Rohit Juneja, and look for it. You'll find it there on YouTube. Spiritual actualization is all you got to put in, or spiritual wisdom channel. You got both names. So Prahlad appeared there. He was very dear and pleasing to everyone. Bali was bound by ropes, bowed his head to offer respect to his ancestor. His eyes were filled with tears and his head lowered in shame. Prahlad offered his respects and prayers to Vishnu first. And then Brahma, the creator of the universe, appealed to Vishnu. He says, "This man has been sufficiently punished, for you have taken everything. You can now release him. He does not deserve to be punished more. Bali Maharaj has already offered everything to your lordship. Without hesitation, he has offered his land, the planets, whatever else he earned by his pious activities, including even his own body." Vishnu said, "My dear Brahma, because of material opulence, a foolish person becomes dull-witted and mad." Listen to this now. Because of material opulence, a foolish person, a wise person will not be affected by it, but a foolish person becomes dull-witted and mad. Thus, he has no respect for anyone within the universe and defies even my authority. To such a person, I show special favor by first taking away all his possessions. Human birth is very rarely obtained. If a human being is born in an aristocratic family or higher status of life, if he performs wonderful activities, if he is youthful, if he has personal beauty, a good education, good wealth, and if he is nonetheless not proud of his opulences, that is to say, of their beauty, of the knowledge, of their wealth, then it is to be understood that such a person is especially favored by me. So it's not that one has to give up these things, but one should avoid pride. One should recognize that whatever you have is a gift by the divine, by God. It is a blessing you've been given. Be grateful for it. Use it for the welfare of others, not to exploit others, but to serve. So Vishnu continued, "Because Bali is true to his word, I will give him a place not obtainable even by the Devas. He will become the king of the heavenly planets during the period of Manu known as Savarni. Then he shall live in the planet Sutal. Till then, he shall live in the planet Sutal. This place is protected by me. It is free from mental and bodily miseries, fatigue, dizziness, defeat, and all other disturbances. Bali, you may now go live there peacefully, surrounded by your friends and relatives. All good fortune unto you. O great hero, I shall always be with you and give you protection in all respects, along with your associates and paraphernalia. Moreover, you shall always be able to see me there." Isn't that great? Wouldn't you like such a relationship with the divine, with God, where you know that you can feel that presence always, where you feel protected always, where you feel that he's there with you? It's not just that you have a direct experience of that. I know I do, and that's why I do this work, because it's absolutely 100% proven over time that he's there. And therefore there is no fear of anything, including death. So I shall always be with you and give you protection in all respects. See, this is the promise for you as well. But it takes a deep connection with the divine. It's not enough to just have this impersonal notion, oh, there's something out there. Yeah, I know. No, a deep devotion, a deep commitment, just as you have with your loved ones. It's not enough to go into, you say, I want to love someone, I want to have a relationship with somebody. Oh yeah, we have a jet. I know you're there. No, you put your money where your mouth is. You are committed to that person. You're there for that person. You're devoted to them. And so it is with the divine. If you want a true relationship in which you will feel that presence always, and you feel that protection, that feeling of safety that we all desire, then it requires that connection, that relationship. So he says, I shall be with you always and give you protection in all respects with your associates and paraphernalia. Moreover, you will always be able to see me there, because you will see me, because you have seen my supreme prowess. Your materialistic ideas and anxieties that have arisen from your association with the asuras, the demons and danavas, will immediately be vanquished. So with that, we end today's episode. Now, I'd love to take up your questions. If you have any, please do write them down. I'd love to know what you think. What are your thoughts? I know it's been a handful. I know there's been a lot. But what do you think? What are your thoughts? We've got folks here coming in from Instagram. We've got a lot of folks coming in from Instagram. And I thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for so many ways in which you're participating. We're here every Tuesday. Today we had to shift the day to a Thursday because I was busy on Tuesday, but we're here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, continuing with the tales. And you will find recordings of all of this on YouTube, including today, including today's reading and conversation. You'll find all that on YouTube, on my channel called, either type Spiritual Wisdom Channel or type in Spiritual Actualization. Spiritual Actualization. You'll find me there. Or my name, Rohit Juneja. Look for me, and you can keep asking me questions in the comments. I have a lot of good material there for you to check out. Because if you're interested in real spirituality is not something cooked up by the latest book on the New Age circuit. Real spirituality goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and it is as true then as it is now. It works. It's tried, tested, and proven. And because of that, you and I are able to see the results. It's a science. In a science, if you took hydrogen and oxygen and combined it, you'd get water. Spirituality is a similar science. There is a process. You do the process, you get the result. But most people don't even know what the result is. They think the result is about manifesting something. They think the result is that we're supposed to be able to fulfill our desires. That's not the result of spirituality. That's not the point of spirituality. That's not what you're aiming for. There's some questions coming in. Let me see if I can put them onto the screen. I don't know, but let's try. Okay. Hey, so good to have you here, Toru. And we have a comment here from Amari Bell. I wasn't here, I didn't hear the whole thing, but what I heard was beautiful. Some things reminded me too of the Catholic beliefs. Would you think that to be true, that some things are similar? Absolutely. There are similarities all across. In fact, it's known that Christ went off to India and was there for, on his journeys from the age of 13 onwards. He came back only at the age of 30 and started his ministry. He learned a lot from India, and these teachings all intertwine. In fact, I find the teachings of the Vedas are very similar to what you find in Christianity, very similar to what you find in Sufism, or very similar to any place where there has been a true teaching of love of God. And there are different schools within the Vedas, or what is commonly called Hinduism. And I don't ascribe to that word actually, but we'll use it for now. So in Hinduism, there are two distinct paths. One of them is the path of love of God, the path of divine love, and the other is the path of being able to merge with the divine, to become one with the divine. There are two ways to become one. You can become one through relationship. You can become one through energy. So there are some who like to just meditate and be in that trance. And in that trance, they like to connect. Their idea is to annihilate the ego, and their idea is to ultimately merge with the light. Personally, if you ask me, I find that a bit boring. You know why? Because the other option is so exciting. When you will see as we go further in this, we're going to be talking about what divine love looks like. We're now on the 8th canto. By the time we come to the 10th, which is, it'll probably take us a few weeks, that you begin to see what that divine love looks like, how exciting, how juicy, how incredibly sweet and tender and delicious it is. And when you realize that, and then that's the other option, and you're offered so much of help, and you're offered so much of support, because Krishna says that. He says, both paths lead to me, but one who surrenders to me, I pick them up from the ocean of birth and death and bring them back to me. And what is it like to be with God? What does God look like? What is that whole relationship like? That sweetness, that madhurya relationship is something we're going to be exploring as we keep going further. So keep with me. We'll be learning a lot as we read, and keep asking questions, because listen, do not believe anything I'm saying to you. Question everything. Question. The idea is not to blindly go along. There are processes in here by which you can experience all of this for yourself. The narratives are there to inspire us. These are histories from ancient times, from different planets, from different dimensions. They're there to inspire us about what is possible. We have to know what is possible, right? We have to have some kind of an inspiration that leads us forward. And then we can begin our journey. Just like when you read about somebody, who went to a certain beautiful place and you say, oh, I want to go there too. Whether that's a beautiful restaurant or it's a great, country that you want to visit. It takes someone who's been there. And so when we hear about the lives of highly evolved beings, that's really what that inspiration is for. And these texts that we are reading, the Bhagavatam, is full of such narratives. So keep with us. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern. And if you're in India, then that'll be on Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m., at least until American times change, and then it'll change again. But or get on my mailing list, To join that, you can go over to my website, rohitjuneja.com, or just type in spiritualactualization.com. You'll find my website. And there, just subscribe. And there's a place to subscribe for the meetup. And once you subscribe, you'll be on the mailing list and you'll get a reminder every week. And you'll even get the links to the previous episode in case you missed it. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, depending on where you are. And I'll see you next week. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna, Radhe Radhe. See you next week. Bye.